Hey, this is the Not Safe for Work History Podcast. I'm Joe Brown. To my virtual right is Jason Middleton. This first episode, finally.
How long has it been in the works?
You tell me. I have no idea.
About 2 years, I think now.
2 years. Yeah.
But we're here now, the first episode. So, Joe, I've got a question for you.
Yeah, what's that?
Have you ever written any graffiti on a bathroom stall?
I don't think so. No, I haven't.
No, nothing?
Nothing,
at
no.
all? No graffiti at all?
No, well, if I'm in the bathroom stall, I'm
Maybe that was anywhere, I guess. I know you're focusing on other things when you're in there, generally.
Yeah, I'm one of those shy poopers, you know?
Oh,
so
okay.
it's like if I'm in the bathroom stall, it's an emergency or damn close, or
You wouldn't be in there otherwise.
Right.
Gotcha. Well, we're talking about graffiti today, but graffiti from quite some time ago in the city of Pompeii. Now, do you know anything about Pompeii?
I know it was destroyed.
Vesuvius.
Do you know how close Pompeii is to Naples? Or is it Naples? What's the one that is currently right next to the super volcano in Italy?
Oh, that's right, too. They've got one going on right now. Below Naples. So it is that same
yeah,
area.
so
yeah.
And if we're lucky enough, we'll get to see it again.
Lucky? Is that the word you want to use?
Yeah, maybe not.
But Mount Vesuvius erupted in 79 AD.
CE.
Burying Pompeii and Herculaneum and other nearby villas and towns in to 6 meters of pumice and ash, which is 20 feet for people that use that sort of thing.
Me.
Because of this, the town was really well preserved under this stuff, and kind of gives us a look at Roman life at that time. Whereas other historical records, you got a lot of the rich and the powerful writing the histories. This was a Roman town, population of about 11,000 people, frozen in time, basically.
Right.
So we get a really good look at just the everyday, Roman, basically.
And this is a good first episode for us, because that's kind of what the concept that you originally brought forth for this podcast was.
Well, yeah, the idea is, cultures change through history, but people never really change, we're always sick and disgusting and into lots of horrible things. And
we've always been drawing swastikas on the side of
exactly
on the side of stalls.
Yeah, and it's the graffiti that's been found at Pompeii really reflects that. It's quite interesting to see this stuff, and shocking to a lot of people that think of. Well, I guess now that I think of it, Rome has always been kind of seen as this hedonistic society,
right? Yeah,
which
with the baths and
but really
the dramatization.
I think Rome was a lot more comparable to our modern civilization. You have the town of Pompeii, which was, a decent sized town. Like I said, 11,000 people. There were stores, there were bars, there were fast food restaurants.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. No, it's...
what would be an example of Roman fast food?
Well, you'd have... I've seen pictures of it, and you can look up online. I think if you typed in Roman fast food, well, no, you'd get a bunch of
you'd get McDonald's
addresses for McDonald's in Rome. But when you see pictures of these places, and they have the preserved examples in Pompeii, it's a big room you walk into with a big counter. It almost looks like a buffet table because they have places for bowls and stuff like that.
Oh, okay,
in the counter.
I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, they'd be selling, all sorts of cold food, basically, that you could eat with your hands. And just, people on the go, because a lot of people have this, and we're probably getting way off topic here.
Yeah.
So I'll probably cut it out, but people have this image of cultures in history living like the pioneers, in the North America, where they all grew their own food and
Right.
everybody was self-sufficient. But that really wasn't the case. You had these big towns and cities that were surrounded by farmland, where people, had slaves and big, for lack of a better term, factory farms, where they grew everything and sold it to a distributor, and they'd sell it to, stores and restaurants and stuff like that. Very similar to what we have now.
The ancient history version of an industrialized society.
Basically, yeah. I won't go any further off topic. But anyway, yeah. So Pompeii was well preserved, and I believe it was the 1800s is when it first started being excavated. It kind of got forgotten in time, and there's still large sections of Pompeii that have not been excavated. So who knows what else lies under the old ash and pumice there, but we do have a lot of interesting graffiti that has been found. All of basically Pompeii and probably every other Roman town and city in the empire was absolutely covered in graffiti, which kind of has interesting implications in that it wasn't just the wealthy who were literate.
Right.
That a lot of the population was functionally literate.
Right. Yeah, and that's what when you were doing the research for this, I came across an article explaining why these places were covered with graffiti. The reason being, most people couldn't afford paper, or they couldn't afford the scribe to write for them, so they would essentially use the walls for practicing penmanship and literacy.
And people, I think, probably generally picture carving this stuff into stone, but walls were generally covered with plaster too.
Yeah,
so
it was
easy to write on with charcoal or whatever you had in hand.
Well, who cares about that anyway?
Yeah, education writing or letter writing is not what we're here to talk about today. It's about the stuff that you generally find in a modern bathroom stall or written on a back alley wall or something like that. And going through and kind of categorizing a lot of the more adult graffiti, a lot of the same themes as we see now. You've got people writing about taking a shit. You got people insulting other people, talking about fucking.
And, a lot of that.
Yeah, a lot of that. People were quite... it seems like brothels were really popular places to leave your mark on the walls. People
in more than just writing.
Well, yeah, that's ew. Okay, I just got that. Wow. All right. But where should we start? How about shitting?
Yeah, I mean, there's no better spot, I guess.
Okay. Well, the most notable one. Would you call this guy a celebrity? I don't know. And I should add before we continue that we're not Latin experts in the least, and pronouncing these names is probably going to be a challenge for us. So, just a warning.
I know zero Latin.
I think I'd consider this guy a celebrity. I mean, that's probably why he's writing in the method it's written. But it says, quote, Apollinaris, the doctor of Emperor Titus, shit well here, end quote. And that was found on the exterior wall of a house. So I don't know whether we assume that he shit in the street or if he shit in the house and just was letting passersby know that.
Well, I was thinking it wasn't him, but it was the owner of that house.
Oh, I didn't think of that.
As in being since he being the doctor of an emperor.
Yeah, that's true.
That celebrity.
Well, yeah, Emperor Titus, of course, was the emperor at the time of the eruption. And they would have stopped there, passing through and stuff like that. It was,
So you
a
think
port
that
town to the south of Rome.
right?
But Pompeii was also a major vacation town. A lot of people from throughout Italy and the Empire would go to Pompeii on holiday, basically. I'm not sure, but I think it might have something to do with Pompeii being a major wine producer. So the what is it, Martha's Vineyard?
Yeah.
The Martha's Vineyard of the Roman Empire, I guess.
Weather's not bad either.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about Italy.
Yeah, I mean, it's all, unless you live in the mountains, it's all pretty good, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so you're saying that maybe because the only information I have on the location of that one is that it was written on the exterior wall of a house in Herculaneum.
Yeah.
It could have been some sort of boarding house. It could have been, like you said, an advertisement that this person was here. It was obviously good enough for them to shit in. So,
come smell the shit of Apollinaris.
It's quite possible somebody made some money off of that. But people letting others know that I think this one was probably written by the shitter himself, but it is, quote, Secundus took a shit here, end quote. And it's written 3 times on the wall of a latrine in the house of the Centenary, which is now believed to be the house of an Aid Rusti Veri and Tiberius Claudia Veri, which were a couple. And this is actually one of the largest houses that was excavated in Pompeii. So one of the wealthiest families. And I'd like to think that this person wrote that every time he took a shit there to leave his mark. Like, I was in this extremely wealthy person's home and took a shit, in their latrine, their personal latrine.
That's interesting. I just even like the high class. I don't want to say ruling class, but the wealthy, even their homes were covered in graffiti.
Yeah, and not their own graffiti oftentimes too. As far as we know, now Secundus could have been a family member or somebody that lived in the house, or maybe even like a servant or a slave.
Or he could have been a cat burglar shitter.
That could be. Maybe he snuck in off the street. But whatever the situation was, he felt the need to write on the wall every time he took a shit in that particular latrine. One of the interesting things to me is that unless this was done like briefly before the eruption of Vesuvius, the owners just left this shit up on the plaster.
Yeah.
Now, whether it would have been too hard to clean off, or
it was actually his shit he wrote it with, so they didn't want to clean it off.
That's they didn't want to touch it. On the other side of things, there's lots of people warning others not to shit in certain locations. One example is written on the outside of the Vesuvian Gate, which is one of the several entryways into Pompeii, which says, quote, "Shitter, may everything turn out okay so that you can leave this place," end quote. And I'm not quite sure what to make of that one. Whether somebody was taking a shit at the gate itself and just leaving it there, or what. But,
maybe that's when Mount Vesuvius erupted. And that was the guy's last words written on the wall.
It's quite possible. There's other examples. Again, in Herculaneum. I think this one is a more official announcement because it's written on a water distribution tower. So I'm guessing maybe some city official ordered it put up. But it says, quote, "Anyone who wants to defecate in this place is advised to move along. If you act contrary to the warning, you will have to pay a penalty. Children must pay, and the number is missing. Silver coins. Slaves will be beaten on their behinds," end quote. So they were quite serious about nobody shitting near the water supply of the town.
You know what?
Which is understandable.
The best part of this particular quote is that they had to put that in because someone shit in the water supply.
That's true. And I find it strange that they specify children and slaves too.
Yeah. Well, because I guess no free man would have the indecency to shit in the water supply.
That could be, yeah. And slaves, well, you just can never trust them.
Yeah, right.
Again with the slaves.
Yeah, we'll cut that out.
And then this one I threw in here. Now, this is a big leap on my part because I should say we're not historians by any stretch of the imagination.
I think that's obvious by now.
We're making a lot of assumptions and speculations, which is something
all assumptions and speculations.
All assumptions and speculations.
You can take zero fact from anything we have already said or will say.
Well, I think the quotes are pretty accurate, but that's about where it ends.
Yeah, right.
This one was written in the gladiator barracks of Pompeii. I could not find exactly where in the gladiator barracks this was written, but it says, quote, on April 19th, I made bread, end quote. Now, I've seen a lot of allusions to the fact that saying making bread was a slang for taking a shit. And I'd like to imagine whoever was in the gladiator barracks at that point in time was... a
very proud baker.
Exactly. I just thought it was humorous that could possibly be an explanation for that. Or, a gladiator had a very successful side business as a baker. Who knows? Others that I have written down here that are of a similar vein, quote, proceed and relieve yourself against the wall. If you are caught, you will inevitably suffer a punishment. Beware, end quote. Then there's others that, talk about other people shitting. Quote, this is Martha's dining room, for she shits in the dining room, end quote, which is an interesting way of claiming one's property, I guess. I mean, I know...
Do you know, how sanitary were these towns were pretty filthy, right?
It's hard to say, really. The stuff I've read about the hygiene and cleanliness is, I mean, they had public baths and stuff like that. They had running water. I mean, public latrines had running water to clean things away. But I think the main problem is that possibly they weren't, well, actually, we know they weren't aware of germs causing disease, right?
Yeah.
So stuff like shit was just an unpleasant, smelly, thing.
Yeah.
And there was no concept that it could make you sick. So hence, but then again, they don't want people shitting in the water distribution tower, right?
Yeah, right. So well, maybe they just don't like the taste.
That could be too. It made the water taste like shit.
Yeah.
There you go.
I just think, I feel like eating in a dining room where someone
is taking a shit in the corner. Well, this could have been an insult too, right?
Yeah, that's true. That could be a diss on her cooking.
Yes, actually. Martha's Diner, don't eat there because her food tastes like shit. That could very well be the case. Here's another one. Quote, one day for sure you will witness what I felt. When I feel a desire to shit, I'll come here to shit. End quote. And I thought that one was actually pretty
profound.
Clever. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say profound, but clever. And the last one I have here is, quote, watch it, you that shits in this place. May you have Jove's anger if you ignore this, end quote. So he's invoking, a god there, the god.
Right,
and of course, Jove means Jupiter, who was the king of the gods in the Roman pantheon. Yeah, see what I did there?
Yeah, I see what you did there. And no, we did not just have a conversation of whether that was Jehovah or some early Jewish or Christian god.
No, not at all. Shitting in Roman graffiti was quite a popular topic. Now we move on to insults and accusations, and I use those two words loosely because the majority of them are very obviously people writing insults or whatnot towards other people. But again, there's no way of knowing that for sure. What the circumstances were that led people to write things like this, such as, quote, restitutia, "Take off your tunic, please, and show us your hairy cunt." End quote. And that's written
more,
on the.
That sounds more like a proposition than insult or accusation.
That's true. See, I like I said, I use those terms loosely. But that was also written on the one of the outside columns of a tavern. So it was for all to see in the road. But I like to imagine a lot of these that are written in taverns, you know, just drunken, you know.
Right.
Just, I don't know where I was going with that, but anyway.
Right, it's that creepy old guy at the bar.
That sits alone at the bar drinking.
Yeah. And who now walks into the ladies' bathroom in the middle of the night to yell, "This, show us your hairy cunt," and it was just him writing it on the column.
I see.
As he staggered out.
There we go. Mystery solved.
Mystery, and that is a fact.
Another one, quote, "Theophilus, don't perform oral sex on the girls against the city wall like a dog," end quote. And I'd like to know what the Roman pet dog was up to if somebody
Jesus.
is being compared to a dog. When
I just want to know what these cities were like.
I mean,
to be able to go back in time and just walk through Main Street in Pompeii and just see guys shitting on walls and
see, this is going back to the whole the Roman culture was just constantly, fucking and eating and shitting and just anything
just
goes.
Being awesome.
And here's the thing, this person who wrote this is obviously telling them not to perform oral sex on the girls against the wall. And this was written on a wall in a street, again, for everybody to see.
I got it. I understand.
What?
Pompeii, right? Vacation spot. This is literally Las Vegas of Italy.
That could be.
You ever been to Las Vegas? It's people pissing in the street and giving oral sex to girls like dogs.
Generally, you're too wasted to care.
Yeah.
So there you go. On all the wine that Pompeii was producing.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Solved it.
Now, okay. The next one I have here is interesting because I did a little bit of reading on where this was, the location and the house, who the house belonged to. But it's simply, quote, "I have buggered men," end quote. And that was found on the outside of what is known as the House of Orpheus, but is now believed to have belonged to a Vesonius Primus. And it's a fairly substantial house, not as big as the earlier one, but it was owned by somebody important.
So is Vesonius Primus, is that a person's name or is that a title?
That's his name.
Oh, okay.
And the reason why they think he was the one that owned the house is because there was a bust found inside the house with his name on it. And it basically said that it was a gift from some guild to Vesonius Primus. Huh. And we can only assume that it was a bust of Primus himself. And so, yeah, it was written, quote, "I have buggered men," end quote, along with a bunch of political endorsements, basically, written outside the home. And people guess that they were the political endorsements of Vesonius Primus himself.
Wait, okay, I have buggered men. That translates to "I have fucked men," right?
Yes.
Okay, so this guy is writing on his wall, "I have fucked men, vote for Trump."
Well, no, what I was picturing in my mind is that it was somebody who disagreed maybe with his political standings.
So it says, "Vote Trump." This guy's fucked the guy.
So you could trust my endorsement. But again, we don't know for sure. But I kind of picture it as, because another interesting find in this house is in the entryway near where this stuff was written. They found the remains. They make plaster casts of the bodies and stuff like that, and they found what can assume to be a guard dog chained to the entryway, which is an interesting implication that obviously this guy didn't want people just coming in uninvited or getting near his wall. But it was a dog. They found the chain. They found the collar. The dog didn't look too happy. Of course,
understandable in the situation.
Yeah. So he was obviously some sort of political wheeler and dealer. And it's possible that others have disagreed with him. Now, that's interesting too, because from what we understand, the Roman thoughts on homosexuality, that as long as you were pitching, you were okay. If you were catching, that's when you were,
homosexual.
Yeah. So that kind of is it an insult saying I have buggered men? It's
maybe it's because it was a pretty common thing, right? Like having sex with men.
Fairly, but we got to ask too, that was it common and accepted by everybody? Because I mean, even now you have people with various opinions on everything.
That's true.
You have groups that are religious moralists who think it's all bad, and you got others that are completely okay with it, and more that say this is okay but that's not okay. You have people all over the spectrum, and I imagine that back then you had the same thing.
What came to mind for me was this guy writing "I buggered
was
men."
Advertising.
Maybe that's a good point. Yeah. But I was just gonna say it was more of a I have experience kind of thing.
Oh, I see. Or maybe, now I don't know if they ever used it the word in the same way that we do today, but it could mean that I have fucked men, I have buggered men, as in I have screwed them over.
That's a good point too.
That's a possibility, because the guy was obviously wealthy and known in the town. But who knows? Who knows these things? I wish there was a way we could find this stuff out, but all we have is the writing on the wall. That was pretty good, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it was...
Anyway, we have we have other stuff too, like quote, a timidus got me pregnant, end quote, which again was on the outside of a house, a merchant's house, actually. So whether this was a young woman who was, and here's the other thing too, a lot of these were very obviously written by men. This is the only one that I found going through everything that was most likely written by a woman.
Most likely.
Well, you never know. People write stupid shit all the time. But
it could be a man writing for the woman.
That could be too, but let's just go with the idea that it was a woman who wrote it.
Right.
And claiming that somebody, most likely inside that house, got her pregnant. And I can only imagine didn't want to, help her out with that. Here's another one too. Secundus likes to fuck boys. So another one that talks about, I guess the other guy liked to bugger men. But this one likes to fuck boys.
Yeah.
And I don't know, another possibility is that these are just people fucking around and aren't necessarily like pointed insults.
Yeah.
But just people writing shit on the walls to goof on each other.
Right. Honestly, I would say it's most likely that.
Just fucking around kind of thing.
Yeah.
A group of friends and like, ha, look what I wrote on the wall about you sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's a common thing nowadays too. So yeah. It's not
but
big of a stretch.
Yeah, it's hard to tell though, because men like to fuck boys then,
That's true.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Another one, quote, 2 friends were here. While they were here, they had bad service in every way from a guy named Oh boy, Epaphroditus. They threw him out and spent 105.5 sesterces, most agreeably on whores. End quote. And this is kind of what's that? Wow, what's the advertising thing that, or the review
Yelp.
website? The Yelp.
Yeah,
This is like
that's what I thought immediately.
ancient Roman version of Yelp right here.
This is the first version of Yelp.
Exactly. And it was written. This one was in Herculaneum, written on a bar that joined the Maritime Baths, which was a major bath complex in Herculaneum.
Right, it was a spa.
Yeah, basically. And this was a bar that was attached to the spa, and obviously these guys were fucked around.
These guys were two snotty, pretentious Romans coming from the city of Rome to enjoy their time. They had bad service, so
they went and fucked whores.
Yeah, they thought they had their privilege or some right was violated, so they decided to write it on the wall.
Exactly. And again, I don't understand why it wasn't removed or cleaned off. Like, maybe they had some sort of unwritten rule that once something was written on a wall, it just had to stay there or something.
I don't know.
It could have been the common,
Maybe just everyone forgot, like, oh, we could totally just put more plaster on the wall.
Yeah. Or, or paint. They had paint.
Yeah.
Why not? I don't know. Anyway, who's to know? But the interesting thing, I want you to remember these two friends, the two friends that were there that got thrown out at the Maritime Baths in Herculaneum, because I believe they come back later on with more graffiti. So,
well, what if they did paint over all this graffiti, and this is just the
week,
graffiti.
the last week of that could very well
this
be.
all happened in one day or in a span of 2 days or something.
That could very well be, which is an interesting thought.
Yeah,
because then you really got a snapshot of a day in the life of the ancient Roman Empire.
Yeah, at that point it becomes kind of creepy,
that just people are just constantly going around writing shit on the walls.
Well, no, that you have the last moments of all these people written on the wall.
That's true, yeah. Well, you have these guys here that, if that's true, that day, or at least that couple of days before the eruption,
right, could be
maybe
hours.
even, that they were thrown out of this bar by Epaphroditus. And went and, well, in that case, they had a pretty good few last hours because they went out and spent a bunch of money on whores.
Not Epaphroditus. That guy was having a shitty day.
He was having a shitty day at work, nonetheless.
Fucking these stupid Romans coming in from the cities.
Fucking rich guys. But no, that's an interesting thought. I never thought of that. That's just, that day's graffiti.
Yeah. Oh man, this makes it so much more different now for me. Because I just thought, if this is just old shit that everyone's seen, that graffiti's been on the wall for 10 years, but
but no, God, I didn't think of that the whole time I was reading through all that.
Yeah,
stuff.
it just popped into my head.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting thought. Now the next one I have is quite possibly my favorite.
This is my favorite too.
It's so simple. It's so simple and pure. And I completely understand what this person was driving at when they wrote this in a weird way. But it's Icundus licks rural cunt. End quote. That's it. That's the entirety of the graffiti. And having grown up in a rural area.
Oh yeah.
I
know exactly
what he's
talking about.
He's this Icundus is some town dweller, a townie, and he hooked up with some chick out in the country, some redneck hillbilly living in a vineyard. Yeah.
She was big.
You think so? Not the hot farmer's daughter type of thing?
Oh God, those don't exist.
I know, that's, but...
or if they do, that's when you first meet them.
Yeah.
And then in 5 years...
then they fall apart.
They're gone.
Yeah. But no,
it's fair to say.
Yeah, that wasn't very nice at all. I've known plenty of Neil Young did a song about it. about pretty country girls.
About licking rural cunt.
I think that was between the lines.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, yeah, no, Icundus hooking up with some country cunt. There you go. I don't know why I like it so much.
You know what? I'm the same. It's my favorite one too.
Yeah, no, I just when I came across that one, I just said that's it. That's the best one out of all of them. But we've got others that are, this one we were talking about earlier before we started recording, and I don't think we came to a real conclusion.
Yeah,
but,
this one.
Quote, "Here I have fucked a beautiful girl, praised by many, but there was dirt inside," end quote. Now, I said that maybe it was that he was trying to be a little poetic and that she might be beautiful, but she was a really horrible person. But then you said possibly venereal disease.
Yeah, she was just a dirty girl.
Or maybe he butt fucked her and ended up with a little surprise.
A little dirt inside.
But I'd like to think that they'd use a different word than fucked if that was the case. So, and then the last one in these insults and accusations is, quote, "Albinus is a catamite," end quote. And that goes back to the whole, maybe him and Secundus got hooked up somehow.
Maybe Secundus and you say Albanus?
Albanus, yeah.
Okay.
I think I said Albinus, but I think Albanus is probably how it's pronounced.
Secundus and Albanus are buddies, right? Secundus writes, "Albanus is a catamite," where Albanus responds with, "Secundus likes to fuck boys."
So he's saying, yeah, well, yeah, you know, because, I see. It could be.
Yeah. And,
just a couple of buddies out on the town.
Right. And so you don't have to search catamite. That is a boy strictly kept around for having sex with.
And we know that because Joe looked up the word before we started recording. All right, so from the insults, we move on to people basically bragging about their sexual prowess, sexual conquest.
Yeah, this is definitely the height of the bar bathroom stall.
Yeah,
typical.
This is you'll still see stuff like this nowadays. In a really
in the same
shitty...
Latin and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the first one, really simple, written in a bar, or outside of the bar, actually, just next to the front door. It simply says, quote, "I screwed the barmaid," end quote. I imagine she was a looker, and he was bragging. But no name was included. That's the other thing. So maybe he was just kind of patting himself on the back when he wrote it.
It didn't happen.
It didn't happen?
It didn't happen.
No? I got to say, okay, and this is going to sound kind of, a little out there, but I actually went to see, when I was younger, the Pompeii exhibit. It was at a museum in Ottawa. And they had some of the plaster casts of the bodies that were discovered in Pompeii. And the women weren't all that bad. They had the right shapes.
How could you tell?
Because, well, they're not amazingly detailed. Like, say, if somebody was laying face down on the ground, the front isn't going to be very detailed, but everything else, like you can tell that was a person, that was their shape, I remember in my how old would I have been at the time? I can't remember now. But I remember thinking to myself, and it was very, kind of, they had this whole atmosphere of, oh, this is sad, all these dead people and stuff like that, which right. I felt, I'm not saying, I didn't feel sympathy for these people or whatever, but
it's hard to, because
there's always
so far
there's
away.
Always that reptilian part in the back of your brain,
right?
That's saying, that chick has a really nice ass. And I thought that, and I was I was going to say I was ashamed to think it, but I really wasn't. That was just a thought that popped into my head while I was walking through this exhibit. So
I wonder if it was whoever was excavating the person kind of grew attached to them, so they left a little bit on the end.
Oh, jeez.
You're going to look good for the boys in Canada.
But anyway, no, I thought I'd throw that in there. This one is, we go back to the gladiator barracks, actually. And one thing to note about gladiator barracks, or gladiators themselves, is that they were, the sports heroes of the Roman world while they were around. We have examples of a young boy's room where he has drawn, his favorite gladiator on his wall and has ticked off how many victories the guy's won. It's they were the hockey players or the football players or whatever of the time that people grew attached to. But they were also used as prostitutes, and a wealthy woman could go and fuck a gladiator if they wanted to.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, whoa.
So it was a good life, I think, except for the whole possibly dying.
Yeah, right.
But oh shit, I fucked up. This one isn't about a gladiator, but it is written on the gladiator barracks.
Yeah.
And it's quote. Let me see the Floronius, privileged soldier of the 7th Legion, was here. The women did not know of his presence. Only 6 women came to know. Too few for such a stallion. And Floronius wrote that himself.
Right.
I mean, that's, who else is going to write bullshit like that?
Right. His buddy, his really proud buddy.
Patting him on the back the whole time. Here's another one from the Julian Claudian Gladiators Barracks, which is in a different section of the city. I don't know if this was somebody's own personal stable of gladiators or what, but it was kept separate from the other gladiator barracks, which was next to the amphitheater. But it says, quote, Saladius, the Thracian, makes the girls moan, end quote. And now, having just talked about how gladiators were used as prostitutes too, I'm thinking that maybe that was an advertisement.
Yeah.
To attract some customers,
right?
Because it was written on a column outside, on the street, basically. So
totally.
And a Thracian, of course, is a type of a style of gladiator. Not necessarily saying that he was from Thrace. But
what kind of style was it?
They were generally armed with like a shield and a curved sword, which was, reminiscent of the Thracian style of arming their soldiers.
Yeah.
Because you had different types of gladiators that were often styled after different kingdoms that the Roman Empire might have conquered or fought in the past. And, So
he had that pirate sword.
Yeah, basically. In a way, I think the sharp part of it was on the inside of the curve, not the outside.
Right.
So I guess more of a hook sort of thing.
Yeah.
Than anything. But
like the toy pirate swords you got when you were a kid.
Was that a common thing? They get toy pirate swords?
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, I shouldn't. My daughter has a toy pirate sword, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's curved, isn't it?
It is curved, yes.
And it's got like the curve at the top.
Yes. They weren't exactly like that, but for the sake of, description, sure. That's exactly what they were, basically pirates. So anyway, this could have been an advertisement put there by the owner of the gladiators, or it could have been him being goofy and writing that shit.
Or being truthful.
Or it could have been sarcasm written by somebody else. Who the fuck knows, right? Like Caladius was always going on about how good he is with the women, and there's actually some argument that that's how Pompeii the Great got his name, Pompeii Magnus. That it was a sarcastic title because he thought he was so great. But
But he was pretty great.
Was he?
Was he?
Was he really? I don't know.
Well,
Who knows?
Let me look at my
I guess he was quite a braggart.
The Civil War by Julius Caesar. See what
The one that he lost?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, he got that name long before the Civil
I know.
War, though. So, but so the next, I've got three pieces of graffiti that were found at the Lupinaire, which hopefully we'll do an episode on in the future because it's really interesting. A Lupinaire was the main brothels in Rome, or in the Roman world. You know, it was a building that was strictly dedicated to the profession of prostitution.
For the fucking.
And the the graffiti speaks to that. The first one, quote, I fucked a lot of girls here, end quote. Which, you know, again, no names though. No names included. So.
I like to think that as an advertisement. You know, like when you
maybe
see
a lot
like
of these
show,
were
like
you
it's
know?
a review from like a show, like, you know.
So it's like
riveting.
You know,
I fucked a lot of girls here.
The New York Times.
Yeah. Some random tramp.
Now this one, you know, was written by the guy. The next one, it had to have been. It's quote, Solemnus, you fuck well, end quote. And just, is a prostitute really going to write it? Maybe he was really good. You know, maybe she was quite smitten with him. Who knows? Yeah. Maybe it was, what they did to have return customers, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Come back.
Oh, you're so good. You know, I just come back whenever you can because that was great.
Yeah,
you know,
come back next time and pay the same price.
Yeah. That's actually a pretty good business strategy. Another one quote. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm done.
Another one quote on June 15th. Hermeros fucked here with Philetaerus and Caphisus. Again, I'm slaughtering these names, but you know, you get the point. So a group of buddies went and hung out at the Lupinaire for an evening, and
is it pronounced Lupinaire or is it pronounced Lupinare?
Lupinaire. I see what you're talking about. That.
Oh no, because Lupinaire, I was thinking Denare, but that ends with eyes.
So like I said, hopefully we'll do an episode in the future specifically on prostitution in the Roman Empire because it's an interesting subject. You know, it wasn't illegal. You know, it was I'm not going to say respected profession, but it was a profession that seemed to be quite popular.
Completely honest, there's probably going to be a lot of episodes about prostitution.
That's true. That's true. Actually, yeah, there's another one planned.
Yeah,
for another time period. That anyway, we won't get into that. We've got another one that it was found in a room of what they believe was a small brothel. Because you had the big one that was near the Forum, the Lupinaire, the main one. But then you had other, you know, people that had either side businesses or they were attached to bars or whatever that would have a room or two specifically for prostitution.
The Lupinaire was the Bellagio, whereas this one is more of like Circus.
Or the motel that's off the strip.
Oh, okay, it's not even on the strip. Okay.
No. But this one is, quote, Gaius Valerius Venestus, soldier of the first Praetorian cohort, in the century of Rufus, fucker of women.
Hell yeah.
Quote. Yeah, that's a man right there. But the Praetorian cohort, of course, that's part of the Praetorian Guard, which was the emperor's personal soldiers, basically. The century is a unit, like a platoon or a company. It'd be more like a company. Rufus being the commander of that company, and fucker of women, which is what he did apparently.
And you know, he that's how he introduced himself everywhere.
He was just the
You know what I
asshole
am?
that just, yeah.
I'm a fucker of women.
I imagine he was on vacation, Here's another one. This one. Oh, actually, here we go. We're getting back to, remember how I said to remember those two friends in Herculaneum at the Maritime Baths?
Yes.
Well, I think we might be coming back to them.
To be honest.
we might be coming back to them now because we have two quotes that are found in and around the same area, the bar and inn that were connected to the Maritime Baths in Herculaneum. And the first one is, quote, Apelles and the chamberlain with Dexter, a slave of Caesar, ate here most agreeably and had a screw at the same time. So there's a positive review, possibly, from those two friends from earlier. And then the second one, quote, Apelles and his brother Dexter each pleasurably fucked two girls twice, end quote.
Now, is that two different girls or one girl each twice?
I'm going to say, because if it is the same people from earlier, they spent 105 a half sesterce on whores. So, I don't know. That might get you two girls.
I don't know the
Twice.
going rate of ancient Roman prostitutes.
I'm not quite sure either, but...
I'm not well versed.
It seems like a little bit of money. So, yeah, no, it's quite possible that these are the two friends from earlier. And they had bad service at one place and went to another place and lots of eating and fucking.
I hope that's the case.
But that lends to what you were saying earlier about it being a snapshot of a small period of time.
Yeah.
In Rome that, it'd be interesting since, Dexter is apparently a slave of Caesar, which would be Emperor Titus. They could have been there at the same time that Emperor Titus's doctor was there taking shits in streets or in houses.
Oh, this totally happened in one day, man.
Well, this all took place on Herculaneum as well, right? So
this is blowing my mind right now.
Yeah, there you go. But anyway, so there you go. That's we've got pretty good evidence of repeat graffitiers. Graffitiists? How would you say that?
I don't know.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
We've got some others throughout Pompeii. Quote, Synethus has fucked Fastilla everywhere properly. I'm guessing that means every orifice that he can fit it in. I'm going to guess.
Yeah.
Quote, hairy cunts are much better to fuck than hairless ones, end quote. So there you've got the debate of hairy or smooth, going all the way back to ancient Rome. Not just something that people talk about nowadays.
Literally nothing has changed.
We're the same people. The culture changes. Nothing else. Quote, Rufa, be well because you give nice blowjobs, end quote. Which is kind of a kind sentiment.
That's my new favorite one. That's such a that is such a dick move.
Well, he's wishing her well.
Right. But for the only reason, because she gives nice blowjobs.
That's true. Yeah, well.
Wow.
Well, here's a sweeter one then. Quote, my life, my sweetheart, let's play for a moment. Let's imagine that this bed is a field and I am your horse. End quote. So there's a romantic gesture, I think. The guy's still getting fucked or doing the fucking.
I think that's the woman writing it.
My life, my sweet, let's play for a moment. Let's imagine that this bed... Well, there's no evidence for that.
Well, let's imagine that this bed is a field and that I am your horse. Like, you ride horses, right?
Oh, okay. Well, I was picturing the old cowgirl style.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah. But, again, who knows?
It's all conjecture.
Yeah. Here's a pretty good one, too, because I'd like to think that this is based on Julius Caesar's old, what was it? I came, I saw, I conquered.
Yeah.
But it is, quote, here I came, I fucked, then I went back home, end quote. So nice. That's just a guy that gets right down to business.
Yep.
He doesn't fuck around. Well,
he does. He does.
He does, but he
goes
very pointed about it.
He isn't he's not a cuddler.
he gets the job done and then he leaves. But we have, quote, Bellicus fucked some guy here, end quote. So there we go. That's the fucking in the brambles in New York.
What?
Is that over people's head, do you think?
I
gay guys in New York would go off into the brambles to hook up with random guys. George Michael.
Yeah. Okay. Well, why don't you just say bathroom?
What? Well, no. The Brambles is an area in New York, in Central Park, I think.
Oh, okay.
It's like a lot of bushes and stuff like that. I'll cut that out. Nobody's going to know what the hell I'm talking about.
Why do you know that?
Well, okay, I'll tell you why I know that. I used to listen to the Howard Stern show all the time.
Oh my god.
George Takei. George Takei was a frequent guest on the Howard Stern show. I believe
it's pronounced Takei.
Whatever. Takei. No, actually, it's Takei, isn't it?
I have no idea.
Anyway,
everyone says Takai.
Okay, well maybe it is Takai. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he says Takai, but I could be remembering that wrong. Anyway, he talked once about how gay guys would go to the Brambles to hook up in New York, and that was quite a common thing.
Right on.
So there we go. Sneaking off and getting a quick one in.
And now they just have
some random stranger.
Now they just have Grindr.
That's true. See, we do progress as a society.
Yeah.
And then the last one we got here is, quote, here Messias fucked nothing, end quote. So
is that a masturbation?
When I first read it, my first thought was it was written on a wall along with everybody else saying that they fucked somebody.
Oh yeah. You're probably right.
It's kind of like how I used to respond to graffiti at the university.
Some fucking angry virgin.
But
I fucked nothing.